I would like to kind of start by inviting you. Can you tell us about your work a little bit? And then I'm going to start with a couple of questions about living democracy in the early years.
Yeah. So I start my career in a very interesting project that was about democracy. It was in the beginning of the 80s, and we came together every 14 days and to think about the ideal school.
Yeah.
And it was where there was a lot of participation of parents, where teachers were involved in it, and also for children. That was the start, and thereout came. For the moment now in Ghent, we have 13 of such schools, which we call Freinet schools, which are really based on democracy. Mm-hmm. And then during my career, I was involved in other projects. And then my last, what I did now was the book that I wrote together with Tatjana Vonta and Sarah Kraus, and that's also about democratic approach. And I was very touched by the large scale in which such a democratic approach was introduced in 30 countries. So I learned also a lot about the interviews I did. I did together with Sarah and Tatjana.
Yes, that's amazing. Thank you, Jan. Okay, I would like to then ask in simple terms, what does living democracy in the early years mean to you, and why it is important today?
Yeah. So I think towards teachers, I think which is very important is that the democratic approach, it's very important that you have a collective responsibility. And I have a nice quote of a teacher, that in one of my research that I did, that she formulated it in a very nice way. She said, to really live in a group, to be myself, and at the same time, to make the difference for the other, to accept in a relation the other, the parents or the colleagues as being different. Wow. And I think that's a very nice way to what it means for teachers. And then for children, I think we have to support children to become active citizens in democratic societies by providing them a chance to think, to make choice, to be curious and ask questions, and to negotiate, and also to make decisions. And in this way, I refer to the father of the democratic pedagogy, which was John Dewey. And John Dewey said, and I really liked it, democracy has to be born anew every generation. Mm. And education is its midwife. I think it's very much that. And then towards parents, I think giving parents a voice, and I think which is very important is that we give a voice to parents that live in difficult situations in disadvantaged areas, or that speak another language at home. That it's very important, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Especially in the times that we are going through right now, right?
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah, we're living in very challenging political times, and I think it's very important. Yeah.
It's even more. It never lost its importance, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Said thank you. But then what are one or two ways that you can share with us that the early childhood services can really foster democratic participation and inclusion and children's agency in today's practice in their day to day?
So I'm starting from my practice and what I saw. Like I had good contacts with the Italian approach, with especially with Pistoia. Also, I visit a lot of step-by-step institutions, which are also very democratic. And when you see that there is always, in all those different institutions, different countries, there is always that idea that you have to be reflective, that to go into reflective dialogue with your colleagues. That's very important, that you are open. Mm-hmm. And then also collective responsibility is very important. For instance, if I visit Pistoia, you never know who is the director of the center, because even if you talk to a teacher, she takes the full responsibility of the pedagogical approach, and that's the basis of a democratic approach, I think. And then also very important is a shared vision and shared values, and that you can reach by, for instance, the Italian approach by doing documentations. You can come to a shared vision between parents and teachers because they see what's the documentation and they talk with the teacher about the posters they have seen, and that's very important. And then for children, I think it must be based on children's rights and also a respect for the diversity among the children. It's very important. And then that all can be realized by democratic leadership that gives space to consultation, to continuing professional development, so that the organization remains dynamic and that it continues to evolve. That I think is important.
Yeah, no, thank you. When you're saying reflection and the democratic leadership and reflection and the communication with parents and having a shared understanding, what are the challenges to be able to do that? Because there are obstacles also to be able to do that in the systems. Also, it can be in the center level, it can be in the systems level. What are the challenges? What are the major issues that is preventing professionals and ECD workers doing that, do you think, right now?
I think for the moment it started in the United States, but it came over to Europe also. I've been recently to Berlin, for instance, and Berlin had a very good curriculum where the diversity of the people was central in it. And I remember that we all looked a couple of years ago to Berlin, to their curriculum. And now there is another government in Berlin, and they changed it completely. So they did like Trump. They have the word diversity is not in it anymore. And so I think that's the big challenge also in my own country. The Flemish government said that childcare, because childcare is not a legal right, and then they said that childcare was only for working parents. But then, what was then the positive aspect that there were a group of parents and of social organizations, and they went to the Constitutional Court of Belgium to say that it was a discrimination of a certain group of people, the disadvantaged people, and they won it. So that's then the positive aspect. I think there are still a lot of organizations. There are still a lot of practitioners who are very involved and who are really going for a democratic approach. And I think that we must continue that, and that also international organizations like, if you look to the Sustainable Developmental Goals of the United Nations, to the quality framework from the European Commission, you see that it's still in it, that democratic, inclusive approach, and we must refer to it, and we must continue to fight for it, and to say that how important it is.
Yeah, definitely. How do we then, overcome systemic or technical obstacles, for example, as a question also, because over and over again, we always talk about like the workload of teachers, the pressure on ECC centers or ECD professionals, like limited funding. And what do you think in this kind of landscape, what are the solutions, or what is the first step towards the solution in the face of these kind of technical, more structural obstacles?
Well, I think it's very important that in the research I've been involved in together with many other colleagues in different countries, you always see that if there is a democratic approach, also in sometimes difficult circumstances, it's always because there are professional learning communities, where everybody is coming together and looking for solutions to find a solution for the problems. And I think that's very important that we continue to look for solutions, even if the situation is quite difficult, that everybody gets involved. And And then I'm quite optimistic. I think if you ever have worked in a democratic institution, you feel as a practitioner how important it is, and it gives you so many things back. You know that you get so many back that you believe in it and that you continue to believe in it, even in if the government is not supporting you anymore. And then I heard some people were saying, yeah, okay, let's hope in a couple of years we have another government, and then it will become better. So it's very important that the practitioners continue to believe in such a democratic approach, I think. And I'm quite optimistic because I don't have the feeling in the institutions I'm in contact with that people are depressed or that they don't believe in it anymore. They still, and they, but of course what you see now is that there are not so many new institutions who are going to the democratic way because the climate is not so. But the ones who are still doing it, I think they continue to believe in it.
They keep it going. Actually, they believe.
Yeah.
So I hear
Yeah.
from you is that it's once you have this shared understanding, people realize actually the benefits and how it should be to build up a democratic society, how to give voice to children. Once they understand it, then they really believe in it, and then systematic problems or other obstacles are things to solve, and there's something to work for them. So it's great to.
And then what we also learned from it was interesting. If I worked on the book for step by step, that I make for myself, it was very interesting because I make some comparisons with the project I was involved in Western Europe then, and then you see that there are some things in which a democratic, inclusive approach can flourish, and that's that, for instance, that you have a safe atmosphere, that you have a climate of trust, and you see that it was very important in the step-by-step programs, but it was also important in the Freinet approach in the city, in the projects I was involved as a young researcher in the childcare centers of Ghent. Then respect for differences is very important, that you work on that, and also ownership of if you work on trying to create another practice, the people who are doing as practitioners, they must have an ownership. They must have the feeling that they did it themselves, that it's not something that comes from top down, and so that's very important. And that that parents, but also children, take active part in decision making. And I have, for instance, toward children, a very nice example of here in Ghent. In the Freinet schools, the children in kindergarten are in one group. That's from 2.5 to 6. And then they're going to primary school, but it's in the same school. And they were at a certain moment, our children were playing very well. They had very good friends who were 1 year older. And then those children went to primary school. And on the playground, they didn't want to play anymore with the young children, with the one who was third year of kindergarten. Yeah. And they have a children's parliament in the school. And one of the little children of 5 years of age said in the parliament that she found it very sad that her friends in the first year of primary school didn't want to play with her anymore. And then a whole project started to link the children of primary school with the children of kindergarten. And then also it was so that children who speak at home the same language, that they help the new ones of 2.5 years of age, that they help them to understand and to talk with the teacher in, for instance, Turkish children or Roma children, and then the older ones took care of the youngest. So there are also very nice ways to involve children and to make a democratic approach also visible for the children. Yeah.
Yes, very, very concrete examples. When you're saying it, just makes me smile because it shows when there's space for this kind of agency, how it can flourish and it can grow, it can change the whole institution. It can start by giving one child, not only one, but like giving the children a voice, a space that can flourish into something much bigger, and then you can see it in practice. That's a great example. Yeah.
And then, and also, which is important, that is, if we talk about parent participation, that we don't forget the fathers, because that's still in a lot of countries.
After that,
huge
because you've been working with this topic in engaging men in ISSA and engaging fathers. Yes. Please?
Yeah. So it's in a lot of countries, it's so that even in countries with a very good very good ECEC system, like in Italy, for instance, it's still so that it's such a woman question. And they have, the last time I went there, I had the feeling that they still have a lot of work to do on that aspect. So it doesn't mean when you have high quality and you have a democratic approach, then sometimes it's really the mothers. It's only the mothers who are participating. And I think that's also very important, that that the fathers are not seen as a second level educators. That's, and a lot of fathers, if you interview them, they are also complaining about that they, and then you, for instance, which was interesting at the time when I worked with around fathers, that there is one sentence that comes back in every country. And that is the teacher who is saying to the father, tell to your wife that the child has, and then the whole thing. So it's like he cannot do it himself alone. He has to say it to his partner so that she can take the action. So and that's that you see in still a lot of countries, though I think there is also still a lot of work to do. But there are good projects like your project, what you are doing, and so there is also a lot of things happening on the field. So I'm not pessimistic. So it's going to change.
That's great to hear that you're not pessimistic, because sometimes it's easy for us to go into this, against everything we're doing in the last 20 years. The gender issue and engaging men in care is really, really challenging. But there's also, there's also a movement nowadays that gives hope for the future, definitely. And it's how can we be fully democratic without having everybody with the same level? As just caregiving isn't just not for women's job; it's everyone's responsibility. Actually, definitely.
It's also, a couple of years ago, I made a film about parents, and I wanted as much fathers interviewed as mothers. And we have selected some centers, and there was one of the directors who, for the rest, was a good center. And she said, yeah, Mr. Peeters, sorry, but I don't think we can find fathers to interview them. I said, listen, if you don't find fathers, we have to look for another institution, because we're going to have as much fathers in the film as mothers. And then they were looking at it and they found fathers, and the fathers were so happy that they could finally say, and it was not only the middle class fathers, but there were a lot of fathers from migration background, who worked in factories and so that we interviewed, and they were so happy that finally they could say also something about so there is really fathers are not, the voice of fathers is not valued, and we need to work on.
Yes, definitely. We shouldn't behave as if they don't exist, and so it's same for the practitioners in the field, because they're mostly working in a mostly feminized environment. So you have to take a step back and think about that. Thank you so much. Then where do we go from here, Jan? What would you recommend as like a key action for policy or practitioners to advance living democracy in the early years, in the coming years, in 2026, 2027? What would be the most important step, so to speak, if you could give a recommendation for policy and practitioners?
Yeah. So what I have the feeling as a researcher also, I have the feeling that there is everything is set in research. Most of the things, what we need now is going for how to implement it and how to, and therefore I've always believed in making things very concrete, very practical. So, and I think the new ways of communication gives us a lot of opportunities to exchange practical examples of good practice, and I think we need to go in that way, that we have a look at. And it's like what we've seen with the quotes. We worked with the book with Tatiana and Sarah, also with quotes, and then you see that there is so many nice things in. It's also the quotes. The first quote I did on, I told you from that teacher. So sometimes people from practice, they can formulate things in a very inspiring way, and I think we need to go further, more to practitioners and to listen to them and to record what they are doing and to use it towards other practitioners, because it has much more effect if a practitioner is saying such nice things like one of the quotes I told you, that it has much more effect than if a researcher is telling that. You understand? So we need to go to concrete practice and to exchange that good practice and to discuss it and therefore you need groups where practitioners meet each other, community of practice or learning communities or whatever, so that they can exchange their ideas, and that's, I think, what we need for the moment. That's my opinion.
No, you're definitely right. We need more peer-to-peer connection. We need more exchange. We need more learning, and we need spaces to be able to do that. And teachers needs and the practitioners and the ECD professionals, they need time and spaces to be able to do that in their
time and space. That's very important. That they have. That they can reflect on it, on what they are doing, what the other colleagues are doing, that they can come to that common values, so that everybody has the same idea about what to do. You can have different practices to solve that problem, but you have to have a common vision. That's also very important. Yeah.
I see. Also, is that you're saying it? I feel like it can be within an institution, it can be within an organization, but it can also be connecting with other practitioners in other settings as well, right? Like they can learn from each other if they're connected, if they can be in some kind of connection with different contexts, so they can learn from each other. That could also be something very
it's very important.
Yes. Thank you so much, Jan.